In today's episode, we take a different approach to football ancestry as we examine some of the NFL's greatest examples of generational success. A team's passing of the torch from one great player to the next. Our first episode in this series focuses on the generations of success of the wide receiver position of the Indianapolis Colts. To qualify for this list, these players must have played at least one season with their mentor to count as having directly learned from their predecessor and therefore keeping the generational chain alive. With all that being said, let's jump all the way back to the 1996 season. With the 19th pick of the first round of the 1996 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts selected wide receiver Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison would go on to have an absolutely incredible career with the Indianapolis Colts, arguably one of the greatest receivers in the history of the NFL. Harrison played from 1996 all the way to 2008. And to think his career could have been longer if he started playing at an earlier age. He entered the NFL at age 24, and he would play until he was 36. Marvin Harrison finished his career with an astounding 1,102 catches, 14,580 yards receiving, 128 receiving touchdowns, and a 61.9% catch percentage. The year that stands out the most in Marvin Harrison's career was the 2002 season, in which he caught 143 passes. That record would last 17 years until Michael Thomas would break it with the Saints. In that 2002 season, he also caught 1,722 yards, along with that 11 touchdowns and a 69.8% catch percentage. That season was absolutely incredible, and is no shock, won him many awards. Speaking of his awards, he would go on to be invited to 8 consecutive Pro Bowls from 1999 all the way to 2006. And on top of that, he was added to the first team All-Pro list 3 times in 1999, 2002, and 2006. And all of these accolades would head him straight to Canton, where he's an inductee into the NFL Hall of Fame. And I just want to go back for a second and highlight this insane stretch that Marvin Harrison had between the 1999 season and the 2002 season during his prime, in which he had an absolute insane run in terms of yardage. During those years, he got 1,663 yards, followed that with 1,413 yards, then followed that with 1,524 yards, and then capped it all off in 2002 with that 1,722 yard season. Just an absolutely insane stretch of seasons where his dominance was at the top of the game. When Marvin Harrison retired, he was second all-time in receiving yards. Currently, Marvin Harrison sits 9th all-time in receiving yards, 5th all-time in receptions, and 5th all-time in receiving touchdowns for his career. But before Marvin Harrison retired, the Colts added another receiver to their roster, one that would go under the wing of Marvin Harrison and go on to have his own very successful career. That next great receiver in this line of generational talents is Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne was picked the 30th pick of the first round of the 2001 NFL Draft by the Indianapolis Colts, where he would play his entire career. Reggie Wayne, similar to Marvin Harrison, who entered the NFL at age 24, Reggie Wayne entered the NFL at 23 years old. Again, a little older for an NFL wide receiver. He would go on to play until he was 36, having played from the 2001 season all the way to the 2014 season. During that stretch, he accumulated 1,070 catches, 14,345 receiving yards, 82 touchdowns, and a 62.4% catch percentage. His best season would come in 2007, in which he caught 104 passes, 1,510 yards, 10 touchdowns, and a 66.7% catch percentage. During his career, he made 6 Pro Bowl appearances, 5 of those being consecutive from 2006 all the way to 2010, and then also again in 2012. He also made the first team All-Pro list one time in the 2010 season. Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison made a dynamic duo for 7 years on the Indianapolis Colts, in which they featured two, dare I say, Hall of Fame level talents at the wide receiver position with quarterback Peyton Manning. What just an incredible time to be alive to be watching this Colts offense at work. Reggie Wayne himself would end his career with stats that currently sit 10th all-time in terms of career receptions and 10th all-time in terms of receiving yards. Now, following this generational chain from Marvin Harrison to Reggie Wayne, could there really be another great wide receiver that the Colts drafted and then developed? Yes, there was still one more. In the third round of the 2012 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts selected TY Hilton. Hilton, drafted in 2012, is still playing on the Colts today in 2021. He spent his first 2 years in the league learning underneath the great Reggie Wayne. But then T.Y. Hilton himself would break out and become a very good receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. In his career so far, he's accumulated 608 catches, 9,360 receiving yards, 50 touchdowns, and a 58.5% catch percentage. His best season to date, and probably for his career, as he's getting older and things are winding down, was his 2016 season, which he caught 91 passes, 1,448 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 58.7% catch percentage. As I mentioned, his career is beginning to wind down a little bit, so I won't expect too many more stats to be added onto this list. And again, maybe he could have been able to play longer. He also entered the NFL at age 23 years old, just like Reggie Wayne, and just how Marvin Harrison entered at 24. Again, kind of an older age, which maybe took off 1 to 2 years off of their career. However, they still, like his predecessors, maximized his time. During his years on the Colts, he's made 4 consecutive Pro Bowls from 2014 to 2017. He was also listed as part of the 2012 NFL All-Rookie team. And while maybe not Hall of Fame numbers like his predecessors, there's still Hall of very good numbers for T.Y. Hilton, and just another addition to this crazy generational chain that the Indianapolis Colts have at wide receiver. It's absolutely stunning to think that these have been back-to-back, dating all the way back from 1996. It's been almost 30 years of dominant receiver play for the Indianapolis Colts. But can this trend continue? Is there a next man in line to continue this generational chain of wide receivers? Well, there's one man I'd like you to consider. Before we end, I thought we'd take a look at the future. Michael Pittman Jr. represents the next best chance to continue this line of great receivers. T.Y. Hilton's time with the Colts looks to be reaching its end sometime soon, and Michael Pittman is the most talented young receiver on the team currently. And again, to make this list, we need them to be on the team at the same time, having learned directly underneath his predecessor. So Michael Pittman Jr., I think, gives us that best chance. If he can live up to the expectations and develop the skills that he has, he stands a chance to be the next in line of great Colts wide receivers. He entered the NFL in the second round of the 2020 NFL Draft at, you guessed it, 23 years old, just like the other predecessors before him. So maybe it's just destiny that he'll go on to be great. Obviously, there's nothing to do with how great he's going to be, but I just thought it was a fun tidbit to point out. In his rookie year, he caught 40 passes for 503 yards and 1 receiving touchdown, hauling in 65.6% of his catches. Obviously, that's been his best season, as it's been his only season, and he's won no awards so far. But with all that being said, I think he's the next best chance, and really maybe our only chance, depending on how much longer T.Y. Hilton lasts on the Colts, to be the next great Colts wide receiver. And with all of that, thank you. Thank you for joining me on this different approach to football ancestry. I hope it's something that you liked, and I invite you to leave a comment if you have a position on your team where you've had generations of success, learn and play under each other and continue this chain, just like the Colts wide receivers. Leave a comment, let me know, and I'll make a video on them. Also leave a comment if you think Michael Pittman Jr. can be the next great Colts receiver. I'd love to hear your thoughts on him. And with that, I also say please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, it does really help, and subscribe to stay notified of future uploads. All information in this video came from ProFootballReference.com, and I just want to say thank you guys. Again, as always, thank you so much for watching this far into the video and for watching all of my content. It means a lot to me. Thanks, and see you in the next one.